the high-stakes defamation trial involving Rupert Murdoch's Fox News has come to a spectacular end. Fox and the company it repeatedly and falsely alleged had supplied rigged voting machines for the election President Trump lost have agreed on a settlement that is beyond even the proverbial 11th hour, as the jury had already been sworn in and opening statements were about to be delivered when proceedings were suddenly halted. The payout? An eye-watering $787 million.
Blockbuster trial might sound hyperbolic.
2 lines straight out in the plaza here.
But at the court in Wilmington, Delaware, where Fox was facing a $1.6 billion lawsuit, it felt not just like the only show in town, but the only show in America. Seats in court were scarce. Lawyers were not. Dominion Voting Systems brought 24 as they sought defamation damages from Fox. In essence, Fox's fake news was on trial, broadcast by Rupert Murdoch's network, which repeatedly and falsely claimed the 2020 election was rigged. In the end, Murdoch chose to settle at the 11th hour.
Fox and Dominion have reached an historic settlement. Fox has admitted to telling lies about Dominion that caused enormous damage to my company, our employees, and the customers that we serve. Nothing can ever make up for that.
Fox News coverage repeated more than 20 times the untrue accusation that Dominion's vote-counting machines were to blame for Trump losing. At the heart of this case was whether Fox maliciously made this false claim knowing it was untrue. In other words, did Fox lie?
You can't say, you're just lying to the American people.
The stolen election narrative reached peak absurdity when Rudy Giuliani amplified the Fox story with hair dye running down his face. There were 800 pages of pre-trial depositions which showed in excruciating detail contradictions between what Fox anchors were saying on air and what they were saying to each other privately. When Donald Trump's attorney Sidney Powell questioned the voting machines, Sean Hannity seemed to agree.
Nobody liked Dominion voting systems, nobody.
But in a private text later, he called Powell a lunatic.
If people air concerns, resolve the concerns.
But later, Tucker Carlson said, Sidney Powell is lying, by the way. I caught her. It's insane.
These Americans, these whistleblowers, deserve to be taken seriously.
But privately, Laura Ingraham said, Sidney is a complete nut. The settlement means Rupert Murdoch has to pay Dominion approximately $750 million. As they left, Dominion refused to divulge further details of the settlement.
Will there be any on-air apology from Fox? Has Rupert Murdoch bought your silence?
The stony silence perhaps an indication that while Dominion will receive a fortune, it may not get the on-air apology it felt it was owed.
And Dan joins us now. Dan, this is quite the moment, really, but we're about to enter another presidential election cycle, aren't we? And Donald Trump keeps already, banging on, repeating these nonsensical claims. How does Fox handle, how does all the conservative media handle that when telling these lies on air has proved to be so consequential?
Well, it really leaves them on the horns of a dilemma, doesn't it? What on earth do they do about Donald Trump going forward? He's the lead candidate on the Republican side. He may win the Republican nomination, yet he still says that the 2020 election was stolen. Now, if Fox News continues to follow that line, potentially they're going to land themselves in more legal trouble with more ruinous financial results. If they push back against Donald Trump and say, actually, the 2020 election was free and fair and you, Donald Trump, lost, they not only might incur the wrath of Donald Trump himself, but also potentially alienate more of their viewers who think that that election was stolen. At the end of the day, this may have been a strategic decision by Rupert Murdoch himself as the least worst option available. They've already had all these embarrassing revelations set out in 800 pages of depositions. He may have just decided he can't appear in court himself. The real question is, how will Fox News report all this, and will they say sorry on air?